Good evening, everyone. Tonight we continue Gemara Rosh Hashana, Daf Lamed Amud Bet. It's going to be 30b1 with the Mishnah. The Masechet ends on 35a, so we are there. We're in arm's reach. I think it'll be around Pesach time, maybe a little bit before, a little bit after, but hopefully we should be there very soon. It's Rosh Chodesh Adar. Tonight is the first of Adar. There's this famous saying that everyone knows: you increase your simcha and happiness. But here's something that we learned. On Tisha B'Av, you're not allowed to study Torah. Why aren't you allowed to study Torah on Tisha B'Av? Why can't we study Torah on Tisha B'Av? Anyone know? Because it says the words of Hashem. What is it? It increases happiness. Pikudei Adonai Yesharim. The words of God make you happy. This is what it says in Tehillim. Pikudei Adonai Yesharim. The words of God are just and correct. They make your heart happy. Because of this pasuk, you're not allowed to study Torah on Tisha B'Av because it makes you happy. Oh, but then in the month of Adar, you have to increase your happiness. What better way to increase your happiness than to be studying Torah? Here we are. It's the first of Adar. It's everyone exhausted after a long day of work. Baruch Hashem. But we're hitting it the Torah. This is the real way to increase the simcha. You should enjoy. You have to make an active effort to be happy. For the gentlemen who are fathers or husbands, to try as much as you can to increase the happiness of your home. To come in with a playful, happy attitude. You got your Hamantashes going already. Wow, look at this. Not wasting any time. Adar started, boom. You read the Megillah today also? What is it? Who gave you Mishlach Mana already? Wow, very good. Supermarket. Okay, Baruch Hashem. This is the way you should do it. Study Torah, eat Hamantashes, we're ready to go. Which we'll talk about Purim because we're gonna have a Tuesday night post. We'll talk about that later. Okay, let's go. We're up to our Mishnah on the Lamed Amud Bet. We already did it very briefly. We'll do it again, and we're gonna then get into the concept of the Shir Shel Yom. Anyone know what the Shir Shel Yom is? The song of the day. It's the part of the tefillah at the end that you skip. And you just like turn on Chas v'Shalom. The part at the end of the when we switch chazans, we go from Uva Letzion, then you go to tefillah David. You say Shir Amalot, then you say Hayom Yom Echad B'Shvat HaKodesh Ashir Shahayu Halavim Amrim Adachan. This is the song that they would sing. So we're going to get into that right now. So what would happen is they would bring korbanot. They would bring a korban every day. They would have a korban of the tamid in the morning, a korban tamid in the afternoon. What was the korban of the tamid in the morning? Was the tamid shel shachar. Anyone familiar with the korban tamid? There were two korbanot that were brought every single day. The olat tamid. It was an olah and it was brought every day. What were they? It's a keves echat ta'aseh boker. You would bring one sheep in the morning. It's a keves hashani ta'aseh ben arba'im. You do in the afternoon. Okay, these are the bookends. So the korban olah tamid is the first korban in the day in the morning, and then the ben arba'im is the end of the day. Musaf is an extra korban, communal korban that will be brought on specific holidays, like Rosh Chodesh they would have, or Rosh Hashana they would have, Sukkot they would have musaf offering. So this is the korbanot of the tzibur, and then you have the special on each day. We spoke about the korban omer. You bring this korban, and then you had a bunch of individuals. So if an individual, Joe Schmo, did something wrong, he would bring his individual korban, but it's got to be in between these korbanot, right? So what is the main korbanot? The korban olav shachar, that's the first one. Korban olav ben arba'im is the mincha one. And then in the middle, if you need to have a musaf, you do the musaf at some point in the middle.
What does olav mean?
Elevated. It's completely burnt and completely elevated to Hashem. Olav goes up to Hashem. No. You cannot eat any of it. It's fully burnt. That's correct. Correct. But this is like the first thing, 6 a.m. the Kohanim would take care of the olav of the shachar, and based on the clock, at the end of the day, they would take care of the ben arba'im before they close up for the day. That was it. After that, there's nothing else that's supposed to go. That's supposed to happen. Everything would have to come in the middle of the day.
Olah is tamid, or it's two different things.
Two separate things. Olah is a type of korban that is fully burnt. The tamid offering is the communal offering that's brought every single day.
Olah is not communal.
Olah is Olah does not mean communal. The tamid is the communal. Now it happens to be the communal offering is an olah type, but you can bring an individual olah also. How do I give you a mashal? All I need is something is that subsets of something else. Square rectangle, but people get confused.
There's like a Thanksgiving offering, there's a chatat offering, so there's different types.
Very
of
good,
offerings.
very good.
So what he's trying to say is that Hamid is by default an Olah offering, it's burnt in his holiness. It's not a Thanksgiving offering where you share with everyone. It's not a chatat offering where you're like giving something because you sin.
I got it. Okay, so Rama, there's three types of cars. There's a sedan, there's a CRV, there's a what's it called, the SUV, and there's a crossover. Okay, so the crossover is in the middle, right? So now in the morning you have to bring a specific offering. Okay, your specific offering is Toyota Camry. So you're asking me, oh, that's not a sedan. It's a sedan, but that's not what defines a sedan. The fact that it's this one is brought every morning. Every morning you bring a korban. It's a sheep. Now that belongs to everyone. Who pays for that? Everyone. What happens to it? You fully burn it. That means you're following the protocol of an olah. Let's say there's an offering that is not fully burned. It would have to be a korban chatat or a korban shlamim. If it's an offering that is a chatat, it's partially burned and partially given to the kohanim to eat. If it's a korban shlamim, then it's partially burned, partially given to the kohanim to eat, and partially eaten by the owners who brought it. So there's all sorts of categories. Okay, let's get back to Rosh Hashana. Let's read our Mishnah. Share screen. Let's go. 30b1 with the Mishnah. If you recall, we were all talking about Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, how he came and he made some takanot. So let's see what happened. Bar Rishona, initially, this is how it happened when we had the Beit HaMikdash. Hayu mikablin edut hachodesh kol hayom. They would accept the testimony of the moon all day long. Okay, we've gone through this so many times, but I'll explain it one more time. What happens is when the sun rises, the judges are waiting to accept testimony to see, did anyone see the moon last night? If someone saw the moon last night, then today is Rosh Chodesh. Okay? If no one saw the moon last night, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. That's because Rosh Chodesh is always going to be one of 2 days. So on that first day, they're going to wait to see if anyone came last night and said they saw the moon. And if not, then by default, it's going to be one of the 2 days. So if it's not the first day, it's going to be the second day. So what would happen is they would accept testimony from someone who came to testify all day long. So let's just, to make argument's sake, let's say sunrise is at 6 a.m., sunset is at 6 p.m. Those are the hours that you're allowed to come with testimony. So they would leave the doors open until 6 p.m. because you were allowed to have testimony until that time. One time though, nishtahu ha'edim milavo. The witnesses came very late. They came like at 5:45. Like 5:50 they came. They just like really the 11th hour, literally. And the Leviim sang the wrong song, or they messed up. Nitkalkelu means they how do they translate it here? They erred. They went awry. They went awry. Sounds like sounds like a type of bread. They did something wrong. They made an error in their song. Now, what does it mean, the song? Sorry, there was one more thing I wanted to say. When we brought the Korban Tamid of the morning and the Korban Tamid of the afternoon, the Leviim would be singing. Who's a Levi here? Can you sing for us? You can't. You have to do it. This is what happened in the Beit HaMikdash. You're the only Levi. You're the only one. We have some Zoom members, but so no Kohanim. So the Kohanim would be taking care of the Korbanot. The Leviim would be singing. What song would they sing? Every day would have a specific song. We're going to go through that. That's the Shir Shel Yom. Hayom Yom. It's from Tehillim, correct. It's all from Tehillim. Hayom Yom Echad B'Shabbat HaKodesh Hashir Shayu HaLeviim Omrim Al Adochan. This is the song that the Leviim would sing. When would they sing it? As they were doing the Korban, and they would be pouring the wine libations as part of the Korban. They would be singing. So what happened one year? What happened is the witnesses came so late, they had already brought the korban of the mincha, which is the final one of the day, and the Leviim already did the song, but it wasn't the song of Rosh Hashana, because they didn't know it was Rosh Hashana, because the witnesses didn't come yet. Rosh Chodesh and Rosh Hashanah. We're talking specifically here about well, for now, let's assume we're talking about Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. So they're waiting on that day to see, is today Rosh Hashanah or not? It's going to be Rosh Chodesh, but since we're talking about the month of Tishrei, they didn't know if it's going to be Rosh Hashanah or not. Imagine that. You don't know if it is, so you're waiting for the witnesses. Usually the witnesses would be there at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. the witnesses are going to be there. The witnesses are going to be from someone in Yerushalayim. They're going to wake up at 4 a.m. to come say, "Guy, we saw it. Today is Rosh Hashanah. Okay, great. You get everything going." But one year, the way it worked out, witnesses came from far away. Witnesses came at the buzzer beater. So the Leviim, they had already brought the korban of the Ben Harabayim, the mincha offering, and they already, the Leviim already did what they did. They didn't sing the Rosh Hashanah song. So they went awry. They did the wrong thing. So they established that they are no longer going to accept, they only accept the witnesses until the time of mincha. Once it gets to the time that you are allowed to start bringing the korban mincha, they would no longer accept witnesses to come give testimony. Why? So they don't run into this issue. Basically, the second you could start bringing the korban, we're not going to accept testimony anymore. If you saw the moon tonight, good for you. We're not going to listen to you. Why? We don't want the Leviim to mess up again. And if witnesses came, so for argument's sake, let's say starting from 3:30 p.m. in my 6 to 6, my day that's 6 to 6, starting from 3:30 p.m., I'm allowed to start bringing the korban mincha. I'm allowed to start closing up. They want to go home early, they are allowed to. Let's say they're allowed to bring the korban mincha and close up for the day. 3:30, we are no longer at 3:30. Don't let witnesses come. Someone says, "I saw the moon." They say, "Zip it. I'm not interested in hearing." What are you talking about? There's still 2.5 hours to the day. I want to tell you, we don't accept it. Okay. But if the Eidim did come, Nohagim oto hayom kodesh ulmachar kodesh. The people who were there knew that it should technically be Rosh Hashanah. It's just that we're not letting the Eidim, the witnesses talk. So they viewed today as a holy day, meaning they didn't do melacha, they didn't do work, they viewed it as a day of Rosh Hashanah. They still accepted it as a day of Rosh Hashanah. Nohagim oto hayom kodesh, that day was holy. Ulmachar kodesh, and tomorrow they treat it as holy also, because that's when the witnesses are going to come give their testimony, and they don't even need to. By default, it falls to the next day. You had a question? Sorry. Very good question. So you're asking basically Rashi's question. No, Leviim would sing both in the morning and in the afternoon. So what Rashi explains is that since in the morning the witnesses almost are never there by that korban, then they never said the Rosh Hashanah song in the morning offering. It just basically the way it would work is 6 a.m. the first second they have the korban, the kohanim, boom, they bring the korban. There's no time for the judges to sit, the witnesses to get interrogated, to say what is. While the judges are doing their thing, the kohanim are already done with the first thing in the morning. They come in. What do you do in a jewelry business? You come in. The first thing you do, you take off the alarm. You don't say, "Hold on, wait for the Sanhedrin." What is wait Sanhedrin? I have to do this. The first thing I get in is I do this. The first thing they do is they come and they bring the korban, and as they bring the korban, they're singing the song. So what Rashi says is the tamid of the morning of Rosh Hashanah, you never sang the Rosh Hashanah song. Never. It was always the regular weekday song, because that's how it was established, because you never knew by that point it was Rosh Hashanah. But the mincha song, by that point, you know it's Rosh Hashanah. You've already brought the Musaf offering. You already had the witnesses. So the mincha one is that they shouldn't be singing a weekday song anymore. They should be singing the Rosh Hashanah song. And this is a situation where if they had known, they would have sang the Rosh Hashanah song. But they didn't know because the witnesses came very late. But they already jumped the gun. They already brought the korban. They could have waited until 6 o'clock or at 5:59 to bring the korban. But at 4 o'clock, they already brought the korban. They said, witnesses aren't coming today. And their luck, the second they did the korban, all of a sudden, the witnesses came, right? Everyone, does it make sense? Does the timeline make sense? Sort of? No?
Sorry, Rabbi, it doesn't really make sense.
Doesn't make sense. Okay.
I don't understand when they would establish Rosh Hashanah. If they came after Mincha, for example, and they testified, it's that day or is it the following day?
Well, okay. So, okay, let's take a step back. Rosh Hashanah, let's take a step back even before Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh can be on one of 2 days, right? When I say one of 2 days, I mean, let's say from the prior month. It could, Rosh Hashanah could be on either, Rosh Chodesh could be on either what or what day?
29 to 30.
30 or 31. 30 or 30, it depends on what question I'm asking. If I ask you how many days are in the month, it's 29 or 30. But what day is Rosh Hashanah? It's going to be either 30 or 31. Because, correct. Rosh Chodesh is going to be either 30 or 31, not 29. You'll never have Rosh Chodesh on the 29th day, because that would mean your prior month is 28 days, and we don't have Februaries. Our months are either going to be 9 days or 30 days, which means Rosh Chodesh is going to be either on the 30th day or the 31st day. Now, how do you know which one it is? The answer is by moon sighting. That's it. So for it to be Rosh Chodesh on the 30th day, someone would have had to have seen it. Oh, yeah, it's your phone. Okay, sorry. Go for it. For Rosh Chodesh to have been on the 30th day, how are you able to have Rosh Chodesh on the 30th day?
They see it on the night, on the 20.
The prior night, 12 hours earlier, basically.
They wouldn't have seen it on the 28th. They'd have to see it on the night of the 29th. They would have seen it live on the 30th.
Let's assume they don't have to travel. Let's assume they're just looking up and they're there, right? They're in Jerusalem, no traveling required, no commuting required. On the night of the 30th, which is the night after the 29th day, so the 29th day comes, the night of the 30th, the beginning of the 30th, they see the moon. The next morning, which is the 30th, what happens? You want to charge your phone? Okay, thank you. They would come the following morning and say, I saw the moon last night. That's how the testimony has to happen. The testimony has to happen is, I saw the moon last night, not I saw the moon tomorrow, right? I saw the moon last night. So if you're coming on the 30th day and you're saying today is Rosh Chodesh, when did you see the moon? Last night, okay? So that day, you're waiting for the witnesses to come tell you they saw the moon last night on the 30th day. And once the witnesses come, so David, the witnesses come at 10 a.m. They say, I saw the moon last night. You interrogate them. What happens now? On the 30th day, witnesses said they saw the moon last night. What just happened?
So the courts would establish Rosh Chodesh as that day.
Correct. Which means it's no longer the 30th day. Now it's the first day. It has become the first day of the month. We have just locked in that the prior month was a 29-day month. Today is Rosh Chodesh. It's a new month. Okay? So you only find out that today is Rosh Chodesh when the witnesses come. My question for you is, what happens if no witnesses come? So then it's not Rosh Chodesh. If the witnesses don't come, Rosh Chodesh gets pushed off to the next day, the 31st day. Or another way to say it is, this month is a 30-day month, and the 31st day from the start of the month becomes the first of the next month. Make sense? So if witnesses come today, the 30th day, witnesses come, this becomes the first of the month. If witnesses don't come, tomorrow becomes the first of the month.
But they don't come anyway.
No. It's Rosh Chodesh if they come. If they don't come, it's not Rosh Chodesh.
They made a mistake.
No, so you're going backwards. I'm defining to you when Rosh Chodesh is.
Only when they
By definition, Rosh Chodesh is when they come. There's not what if it is and they don't come, then it's not. It's only Rosh Chodesh if they come. If they don't come, it's not Rosh Chodesh. That's the definition.
So at what time of the day do the Leviim usually choose the song or sing the song?
Leviim, okay, so the Leviim are singing the first song at kickoff. The Beit HaMikdash, the door is open, the gate, they open up the gate. The Kohen takes the blade and does this shechita. They don't waste time. And as they're doing it, they're bringing the korban offering at kickoff. This is like the Star Spangled Banner. The Leviim it's like they're singing the Star Spangled Banner. Just not before, just right at kickoff. The door's open, they bring the korban tamid, they're singing that first song. That first one, to Jared's point, by that point, they almost never know that it's Rosh Chodesh yet. They never know it's Rosh Chodesh. So that first song that's sang by the morning offering, even on what could be a Rosh Chodesh, is going to be a regular weekday song. Okay? However, there's another time that they sing. They sing during the Mincha offering, and the Mincha offering is the last korban of the day. The korban of mincha, you're allowed to start bringing from around 3:30 p.m., but it has to be the last thing of the day. So, and it could be brought up to 6 p.m. Right? So that's when you do that. That's when the bar plays the last song. I've never been to a bar, but I imagine the bar would say, "This is the last song." You hear the song, you sing the Leviim singing the song. Oh, it's the Shir Shel Yom. All right, get your last drinks in. By the time this parak of Tehillim is done, they're kicking us out. That's what happens. The Leviim singing the last song. So now what we're saying is that one. By that point, you already know. You usually know it's Rosh Hashanah by that point because witnesses would have come by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. They would have come. So by 4, 5, 6 o'clock, you already know. So for that korban, they sing a song, and they're going to sing a special Rosh Hashanah song. Make sense?
Yeah, the timeline makes sense. I would
Okay.
assume though that Mincha is a standard song, and the song of the Korban Musaf is unique to.
I didn't say Musaf. You said Musaf. I said Mincha.
Oh, I assumed Musaf would be the
Musaf-
addition.
Musaf is a separate korban, which would have its own song.
Okay.
That's going to be a separate thing that has to be brought also on the day of Rosh Chodesh.
Okay.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the song of the Mincha. The song of the Mincha, if no witnesses come, then today by definition is a weekday. It's not Rosh Chodesh because witnesses haven't come. So they sing the regular weekday song. But if the witnesses come, and today is Rosh Hashanah, if today is Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Chodesh, they would sing this special song for the Korban Mincha. Okay, we'll get to Musaf later. We'll talk about Musaf later. Okay, now here's what happened. One year, it seems like the Kohanim Ajaleh Dashtan. They wanted to go home. They had to go do Tashlich. I don't know what it was. They wanted to get out of there. They were tired. Maybe it was a 3-day Yom Tov. The guy left his shofar at home and he was scared someone was going to carry it. Something, he wanted to get home. So what happened? The Leviim, the Korban is supposed to be brought up somewhere between 3:30 and 6 o'clock. Okay? So today, witnesses didn't come. Today is the 30th day. Witnesses didn't come. Is today Rosh Chodesh? No, the witnesses didn't come. So what happened? 5 o'clock, the guy said, Yalla, let's go. 5 o'clock, bring the Korban. 5 o'clock, they brought the Korban. The Leviim sing their song. Let's assume they sing their weekday song. 5:30, they're like, okay, great job. All right, where are you going to go? Tonight's going to be Rosh Hashanah now. Because today wasn't, so tonight is. Oh, do you have your pomegranate ready? All of a sudden, bang, 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 someone's knocking on the door. They said, witnesses, I saw the moon last night. What? Yeah, I saw the moon last night. We accept the testimony. Today became Rosh Hashanah. We brought the Korban Mincha. We sang the weekday song. Everything is messed up. Everything was messed up. If the Leviim and the Kohanim, Ajaleh and Adashtan, if they would have just waited until the end of the day, then there wouldn't have been an issue. But they jumped the gun a little bit. Okay, it takes some time. They have to do it before the day closes up. So what happened is the Leviim sing the wrong song. So now what did they establish? They established that starting at 3:30, we're not going to accept witnesses. Don't let the witness come anymore. The witness comes, he's going to tell me that today is Rosh Hashanah. I don't want to hear it. It's too late. You know what this is like? This is like, let's say you're doing some sort of a show or a presentation or something, and you tell someone a deadline. If you want this movie, you want me to show this to you on Monday, I need all of the footage by Thursday. Then he comes in on Sunday and he says, well, here's more. He said, I'm not interested. But it's better. I don't care. It's too late. I have to have a cutoff. I have to have a system. I have to have something in place. So that's what they said. The witnesses are going to come until 3:30, right? The beginning of the time of Mincha. If they come after that, okay, we know that today is really technically it should be Rosh Hashanah. So we'll treat it as a Rosh Hashanah. We're not going to drive home. We'll treat it as a holy day, but it's not. Tomorrow is going to be the real Rosh Hashanah. That's what we said so far in the Mishnah. Yeah.
Why did they something that did prematurely?
Well, it's not exactly correct to say that they're prematurely. They are allowed to bring the Korban Mincha starting from 3:30 until 6 o'clock. That's the Zman of the Mincha. You could bring it at any time between that point. Now, naturally, on a day where you're waiting, it makes sense to try to stretch it out as much as possible. But they don't have to. They don't have to. The requirement is once it's 3:30, now you can start bringing. And also, it takes some time. They have to do the shechita, they have to do the burning, they have to do it all that. Okay, I exaggerated by saying they jumped the gun, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they did it at 5:30, and that guy knocked on the door at 5:45. They were early enough that the witnesses could come after them, but it's within their lanes. They're allowed to do it at that point. Yeah.
They say it's messed up if they do the Korban Mitzvah and then the witnesses come after and like, oh, we've already done everything, you missed it. But let's say they waited until 6 and like at 5:50 the witnesses come and they say, oh, okay, today was Rosh Hashana, but the day's about to end. And you just treated the entire day like it was Rosh Hashana.
Yeah.
So why is that not considered messed up?
Because at least, okay, so that like it's a similar question, but yeah, if you leave it to literally the last minute, there isn't time for you to do anything. But if there's enough time, let's say they come at even 3 o'clock, I have time to bring my Korban Musaf, I have time to blow the shofar, I have time to do the tefillah of Musaf. There still is 3 hours left in the day, at least the locals. Like Ibrahim said, you can start blowing the shofar, right? You're right. Like if you're gonna come on 5:50, who's doing the Musaf shofar? Who's doing the Korban Musaf? Who's doing the tefillah of Musaf? There's like so many things that you miss out on. So there's other things. So this is really Tosaf's question. Tosaf's question is like, is this your biggest issue? Your biggest issue is that the Leviim said the wrong parak of Tehillim. Like, you fulfill your mitzvah from the Torah if you sing any song, any parak of Tehillim, any song, any shirah is fine. Why doesn't the Gemara say they didn't blow shofar that year? They didn't take the musaf that year. There's like such bigger issues. That's Tosaf's question. I'd like to get into that. I'd like to wait on that. For now, let's just go with this. This was the problem they had. The problem they had was the Leviim. They wanted to prevent this from happening again. So the way that they prevented this from happening again is that they said, from now on, we accept witnesses only until the time of minhah. Okay? Okay. I hope it's clear. Okay. Now, let's go to the reverse case. Mishachara Beit HaMikdash, but once the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, there was no Beit HaMikdash, there was no korbanot. If there is no korbanot, then Leviim can't go awry. The Leviim can't do anything wrong. Why? Because there's no korban anyway. So there's no Leviim singing any songs. But there still is a Bedin, there still is a Sanhedrin. Where did the Sanhedrin move to? Yavne. Under? Who is the Nasi? Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. So Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go back to how it was before this whole Leviim mess up. Yishachara Beit HaMikdash. After the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, Hitkin Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai made an enactment. Sheyehu mekablin edut hachodesh kol hayom. We will accept the testimony the entire day long. Because the whole thing was they used to accept it all day long. And then one time, one time they got in some trouble. The Leviim did something wrong. A couple of people lost their jobs. So they said, you know what, from now on, don't let the Eidim come anymore. But now that there's no Eidim, there's no Leviim singing, and there's no issues with that, Rabban Yochanan Zakkai went back to how it initially was and says, I'm going to accept testimony for the new moon all day long. As long as we haven't brought as long as it's not sunset yet, and it's still daytime, we're going to accept the testimony all day long because there's no korbanot. Okay. I feel like this is a bit more complicated than it has to be.
We're getting too much into the details of the mechanics of how it exactly went hour by hour. Which
Yeah.
is not really the point.
It's not. Okay. So quick recap. Okay, Rama, stay with me. Okay, quick recap. This is what we would do. We would accept testimony from witnesses all day long. Okay, but then one year the witnesses came very late, and that didn't give us enough time to allow us to do other things properly. Because the guy, you told me it's Rosh Hashana in the last minute, the Leviim had already done their job and they thought it was a weekday. So what we said is from now on, if the witnesses don't come by a certain time, they're not allowed in. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to accept it. At a certain point, you have to make a cutoff. I'm not going to accept witnesses. I don't want today to be Rosh Chodesh. Okay? Fine. But once the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, who was in this enactment mode, he then went and said, let's make an enactment. Let's go back to how it initially was. We'll accept witnesses all day long until the last minute. Why? Because there's no korbanot. So there's nothing to go wrong. Quick reminder, what else did Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai enact? What were his enactments? blowing the shofar with the Beit Din, right? Or machloket is with any Beit Din or in Yavne. Very good. That's one enactment. Sorry? Yashan is Yom Alef Kulo is Asur. Exactly. The cutoff for Yashan is the end of the day, whereas with the time of the Korbanot, it would be in the middle of the day or from the time of the Korban. So he's extending the Chadash period by a couple hours. Very good. What else? Probably the easiest one. He said it. He said that one. The easiest one. Yes, very good. Lulav and Atorah, what did he say?
We used to only do it on the first day.
Very good. Very good, very good. The lulav was only taken outside of the Beit HaMikdash or outside of Yerushalayim. The lulav was only taken on the first day by Yom HaRishon. After the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, Rabbeinu Yochanan and Zakkai established we do it all 7 days. Zecher the Korban, Zecher the Beit HaMikdash, to remember it. Very good. So he was very much in this mode. This was his next one. To submit the authority, to show that the court is intact, to show that just because we're not in Yerushalayim doesn't mean we're not around. Okay, let's keep going. Now we want to know, what did the Leviim do wrong? So the whole time I kept saying is that they've been singing the wrong song. That they sing the weekday song. It's not so simple. Ma kilkul kilkilu halviim bashir. What mistake did the Leviim make? I don't know how do they translate it? What Ari did, what does it say?
How did they go awry?
How did they go awry? How did they go awry? Or what mistake did they make? Okay? Hachat targimu here. Where's here? In Bavel. Very good. You're like good Babylonians. Hacha here in Bavel, targimu, they explained it as follows. Shelo amru shira kol ikar. They didn't sing anything. Whoa. The Leviim, they were like deer stuck in headlights. Like, what should we do? Today could still be Rosh Hashana, but it could not be Rosh Hashana. Sing the weekday song, but maybe it's Rosh Hashana. Sing the Rosh Hashana song, but maybe it's a weekday. They just didn't sing anything that year. The Leviim they were just quiet. That's what they said in Bavel. The problem was the Leviim didn't sing anything. Rabbi Zera Amar, Rabbi Zera tells us, She'amru shira shel chol im tamid shel ben ha'arbaim. They sang the weekday song, the shira shel chol, in the mincha offering of the ben ha'arbaim, the afternoon offering of the korban tamid. So what did the Leviim do wrong? Either they sang the weekday song, which is how I initially presented it, or they didn't sing anything at all. Let's see if we can find any proofs for which one is correct. Amar lo Rabbi Zera la'ahava b'rei. So Rabbi Zera, remember, Rabbi Zera is the second opinion. He says that they sang the weekday song. He tells his son, Amar lo Rabbi Zera la'ahava b'rei. He tells his son's name was Ahava, love, beautiful name. He tells his son, Ahava, Huk tenilehu, go out to the yeshivot and tell them the following braita. I have a braita. So if here we are having a discussion, Bavel, Rabbi Zera, Amoraim, I have a braita, and my braita is going to prove my point that they actually skipped it altogether. Or sorry, that they sang the wrong song. What does it say in the braita? Hitkinu, they established that they only accept the new moon testimony as long as there's enough time in the day lahakriv temidin, to bring the korban tamid, umusafin, to bring the korban musaf, veniskehem, all of the libations that come with it, velomar shira, and to sing the song belo shibush, without any errors. They allowed the witnesses to come until the point where you can do everything correctly. You could bring the korban tamid, bring the korban musaf, bring the nisachim, sing the song properly. Once you get into the point that I'm not going to be able to do those things, we don't accept the testimony anymore. But here's the line that he picks up on. It says, Lomar shira belo shibush, to sing the song without a mistake. So he says, if you follow what I say, that they sing the weekday song, that was the mistake. The mistake was that they sang the weekday song, so we're telling them that there should be enough time for them not to mess up and sing the weekday song. But if you're telling me that the Leviim didn't say anything wrong, my shibush ika, they didn't make a mistake. What do you mean? So for the Leviim not to make a mistake, they didn't do anything. There's no mistake when they didn't do anything. The Gemara says, "What are you talking about?" By not saying anything, This is the biggest mistake. Not singing is the biggest mistake. It's almost like what was Rabbi Zera thinking? Rabbi Zera was trying to bring a proof from himself. The proof from the Braita that he says is like, I know from this Braita that they sing the wrong song. Why? Because it says you want the Leviim not to make a mistake. What's the mistake? They sing the wrong song. Like, no. The mistake was they didn't sing anything at all. What are you grasping at? That's not a proof for you at all. He tried. You can't blame him for trying. A kid who doesn't know the answer, so he writes something down. Chas v'shalom. Rabbi Zera, he viewed this when he viewed the word shibush, mistake, as some sort of an active mistake. How they actively did something wrong by singing the song. The answer is no. Even a passive mistake of omitting, a mistake of omission is considered a shibush also. So it's not just like, well, what was he thinking? He had a valid point. Shibush sounds like you actively did something wrong, and the response from the Gemara is, you're right, that sounds better, but you could still say that it's a mistake of omission. How you didn't sing the song at all.
You should say the Shira, not a mistake.
Say the Shira, to say it without a mistake. So you're saying to say it correctly.
Yeah.
And you say it correctly, that means they said it incorrectly. But they said it. Okay, that's okay. Maybe okay. So just the fact that it's lomar, to say it. Right. So what their response is to say it correctly, and then the response is not saying it at all is even worse than saying it incorrectly. It's not saying it at all. So that's in lecha shibush gadol mizeh. Meaning you do not have a mistake greater than this. The failure to recite the appropriate psalm disrupts the entire sacrificial service. Yeah, very good. So this is the sides of the machlok. Rabbi Zera thought he had a proof for himself. He didn't. By the way, it sounds like the way the Gemara is going to conclude, we're going to have one more line here. No, we still have plenty of time. We're going to have one more line. So let's try to see which one is it. Mativ Ravacha Baruna. By raise of hands. Okay. Also, people on the Zoom, if you want, you could. I just want to get a raise of hands here. No judgment. Raise of hands. Who consistently says the Shira Shel Yom every day? It's okay if once in a while you miss it, but I just want to know, like, average. Correct. Okay. So we have about half. I'll be honest. Sometimes if I'm running, I don't get.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I have 2 hands raised here. Of course. Oh, 3. We have 3. Wow. Okay. Very good. So the truth is, it is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like the Zoom is killing it tonight. Baruch Hashem. So the truth is, like you said, it's part of the tefillah, and not just as a part of the tefillah. Now we're learning that it's even more than that. It's something that the Leviim would say in the Beit HaMikdash as part of the service. Hashir shehayu halavim omrim al haduchan. If they would be saying this in the Beit HaMikdash, like, okay, you could say it. You can say it yourself in a few minutes here. This is something that has like ancient tradition to it. It's not just something extra. It's something that Shlomo HaMelech's Beit HaMikdash, they were singing these songs. How do you not want to be connected to that? So I use this as an inspiration for myself when I read this Gemara. I tell myself, look, if you're running late and you have to run from one place to another, fine, but make sure you still catch up. You read it afterwards. This is the ancient thing that's in the Talmud.
Rabbi, we didn't see today a special Mizmor of the Yom.
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, we did. 1 second. Yeah.
Like on Sunday.
So we're going to see right now. And I'll explain something that Mincha Chinuch said. We're going to get to that right now. Justin, you said we didn't see a special song today. Okay, let's talk about it because it's also tomorrow. Okay, so now I'm going to something about tomorrow. When we say the Shir Shel Yom on a weekday, on a regular day, you say Hayom Yom Shlishi b'Shabbat HaKodesh Hashir Shehayu Halavim Omrim Al Duchan. This is the song that the Leviim would say on the Duchan. Duchan is when they would stand on the steps and they would sing. Tomorrow morning, you're going to say Hayom Yom Shlishi b'Shabbat HaKodesh. Seek. Full stop. You don't say Hashir Shehayu Halavim. You don't say that. Why don't we say that? Because the Leviim don't sing this song on Rosh Chodesh. They sing another song. What is the shir of Rosh Chodesh?
Baruch Nafshi, I don't know.
You got it right, exactly. You said Baruch Nafshi. We did Arabit. We do it for Shacharit. So that's the one that they said is given to Rosh Chodesh. That's why tomorrow, pay attention. Look in the Siddur. You'll see it says you should not say Ashir Shahayu Al Vimam Al Dachan. Right? You're familiar with this, right? You shouldn't. Why? Because it wasn't the song of the day. It's not the song.
So
that-
what, Rabbi? So why are we saying it anyway? Though I understand that Rosh Chodesh is different, but
So-
why we still say it even though they didn't say it?
So I have two answers. One is because we don't want to mess with the structure of the tefillah. If you take that out, it messes with the structure of the tefillah. For example, even when we have like a fast day, you add the extra shear at the end of Hoshienu, or you have like something else, you add it at the end. We don't mess with that. That's one. The second answer is going back to what Jared brought up before. For Shacharit, you would almost always say the weekday song anyway. For the Tamid of the Shachar, they would say it. But the main one of the Musaf, the main one of the day, they wouldn't say it. So to answer your question, the truth is they actually would say it for Tamid of Shachar, right? They would say it by that point. Unless there's a situation in which it's a 2-day Rosh Chodesh, they didn't have the first day, the second day they wouldn't say it. So you know what? I take that back. It's not always the case. I think the main answer is that we don't want to mess with the Sidur. We don't want to mess with the Sidur. I'm going to give you another example where Sfaradim and Ashkenazim actually do something different. I'll tell you this. Right after we say Baruch Shamar, what's the next paragraph that we say? Mizmor LeTodah. Do we say that on Chol HaMoed? Yes. We don't change our Sidur on Chol HaMoed. Ashkenazim do. Ashkenazim take out Mizmor LeTodah on Chol HaMoed of Pesach. They take it out. Why? Because the Korban Todah, the Mizmor Todah is the song that they would sing when they would bring the Korban Todah. The Korban Todah has chametz in it. They would not bring Korban Todah in the Beit HaMikdash during Pesach. They had there was loaves of bread. So since they wouldn't bring the Korban Todah, the Ashkenazim say we're not going to say the Mizmor Todah. Sfaradim are saying, leave me alone. Every single day we're reading a parak of Tehillim. Okay, they wouldn't, but we don't want to mess around with our Sidur, so take things out. We usually don't take things out. Now, obviously, we add things as necessary. We're adding Barachi Nafshi, we're adding the Musaf, we're adding things as necessary. But to take things out, we're not quick to do. We don't remove things from the Sidur very easily. And if someone, if you could think of an example, let me know. I'd be interested.
Johnny should have asked, why do we even say it if we're not Leviim? The Leviim should be the ones that say it.
Yeah, that's another thing. No, right. So this is the thing. It's our opportunity to connect to the Beit HaMikdash. Let's get back on track. Justin, you have a hand up. I mean, you can just, I'll
unmark
it. No, I want to do it. Okay, I did. Okay. Here, let's go. Let's share screen. Next proof. Mativ Rav Acha Bar Huna. This is a very difficult proof, how he's thinking of it, but work with me, okay? Reminder, what is the song that we sing on Thursdays? Does anyone know? What is it? It's Perek Pei Aleph, 81. It's on the screen. Okay, Mizmor Asaf is what day? Oh. Okay, this one is talking about, look at this. This is talking about you blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. This parak of Tehillim, our sages teach us, is talking about Rosh Hashanah. And there's this whole line here about Yosef, how there's a Gemara that we learned earlier on, that Yosef was freed from prison on Rosh Hashanah. So this parak of Tehillim Pei Aleph is a Rosh Hashanah parak. They would sing the song on Rosh Hashanah. We also sing it on Thursday. Now the Braita is going to start talking about what you do on Thursdays and what you do on Rosh Hashanah, and we're going to try to use that as a proof to tell us if they don't know, do they sing the weekday song or do they omit it altogether, right? Because right now it's a machloket, whether the Leviim are not sure, do they sing the weekday song or do they not sing anything at all? So we're going to try to use this Braita to get ourselves a proof. So chapter 81 is what they sing on Thursdays, and it's also what we sing on Rosh Hashanah. So look at this. Mativ Rav Acha Bar Huna. Rav Acha Bar Huna says I have a contradiction against the Braita. Against this opinion. Tamid shel Rosh Hashanah Shacharit. In the morning of Rosh Hashanah Shacharit, Karev Kihilchato. You bring it in a normal way, and the Leviim sing the normal song. This is what, again, going back to Jared's question. In the morning, Rashi explains that by that point, no one knows that it's Rosh Hashanah, so you're going to do a regular weekday song. No problem. Bemusaf mahu omer. What song are you singing for the Musaf offering? That's chapter 81. Harninu Elohim Udenu, Hariu Elohei Yaakov. This chapter says, this is the chapter that I just pointed to that we read together with the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. By the way, do we read this on Rosh Hashanah? Let me ask it in another way, and maybe you'll know the answer. How many times do we read this in a row on Rosh Hashanah? 7 times, right? So my minyan we do it once because we're trying to keep things moving. But we have more than 7 people read it once, so it's more than 7 times. If you think about it that way, it's like 500 times. But this, I'm kidding. I'm being sarcastic here. But this is the Perek of Tehillim that we read 7 times. This is it. That we read right before we do the Tefillah of Musaf. In the Beit HaMikdash, the Leviim would sing the song when they would bring the Korban Musaf. You see, our tefillot were established based on what they would do in the Beit HaMikdash. So keep going. Shacharit, regular weekday song. Musaf, you do this chapter 81. Harnin Elohim Uzenu. Bemincha Mahu Omer, what do they do in Mincha? Kol Adonai Yachid Midbar, Yachid Adonai Midbar Kadesh Kol. You know that one? It has to do with the voices, the songs, the blasts. That's shofar. We do that song with the Mincha offering. So this is all assuming that we know it's Rosh. We already know it's Rosh Hashanah. The morning one, you don't know yet to do the regular weekday. Now you know it's Rosh Hashanah. You bring the Korban Musaf Rosh Hashanah. You sing chapter 81, the Lam Natseach one, chapter 81, the one that we do 7 times. They did it once, and then for the Mincha offering, they do Abu Adonai Ben Elim, Abu Adonai Kabbalah. The one we do on Friday night, they do it there because it has to do with Kol, the voice of God, the voice of this. It has to do, this pasuk has to do with the Torah was given, shofar was given, blown when we received the Torah at Har Sinai, etc. So that's the connection. Now, Uvizman shechal Rosh Hashanah liot b'chamishi b'Shabbat. Let's say Rosh Hashanah falls out on Thursday, which is possible. You get a 3-day Yom Tov like that. Rosh Hashanah falls out on Thursday. Shashira shelo harninu l'Elohim uzenu. That Thursday song is also harninu, that we also sing for the Musaf Rosh Hashanah. It's the same one. Lo haya omer b'shacharit harninu. In the morning offering, you don't need to say it. Because you're going to say it later anyway. So now we're talking about a situation that I get to the morning offering and I know today is Thursday. I know it's Thursday. I know today's Rosh Hashanah. You don't need to sing it because you're going to repeat it and you're going to say it later. You don't need to say the same Perek of Tehillim twice. So now it's a situation in which they know somehow. And if you know, normally, even if you know, the morning goes with a regular weekday. Even if you know, the morning goes with a regular weekday. It happens to be, in this case, morning is a regular weekday, except you don't need to read it because you're going to read this Perek of Tehillim later today anyway, so you don't need to do it. But, look at this. No, hold on. Sorry, I jumped, I spoke too soon. Because he's going to repeat the chapter. Rather, what should he say in the morning? He should say the same Perek of Tehillim the first time, but just start from this line over here. Start from line 7. It's enough of a difference that you're not doing a complete repetition. Later on, we'll read from the beginning. Now you're doing an abbreviated version. It happens to be that we know it's Rosh Hashanah already, and it's Thursday, so we're not going to sing the normal Thursday song because you're going to say it later, so just say half of the Perek now. That's not the important part. This is the important part. Okay. But let's say the witnesses came later in the day. They came after the shacharit, so the shacharit already happened. Omer harninu, then in the morning you're going to say harninu, you're going to say the chapter. Even though later on you're going to repeat the chapter. Okay, so now we want to use this as a proof. Even though later I'm going to repeat the chapter, if you're going to tell me, so now we're talking about a case in which the witnesses didn't come. Maybe the witnesses didn't come at all, or they come later in the day. And you're telling me, even though I'm going to repeat the chapter, why am I going to repeat it? Maybe I'm repeating it because I'm reading it from the weekday side of the fact that maybe today, since it's Thursday, I'll read it again twice. If you tell me that on a week, if I'm not sure, I'm going to read the weekday song, that's why I would repeat it. Witnesses didn't come yet. I'm going to read it a second time for the mincha. But if you're going to tell me that the Leviim don't sing anything at all, then they wouldn't be repeating in that situation. Shanihatam, so the Gemara says, no, it's possible that you would repeat in that situation. Because it's the song of Thursday. So since it's the song of Rosh Hashana and it's the song of Thursday, the Leviim are not sure. Should we not sing anything at all? Or should we sing the Rosh Hashana song? So they say, you know what? Say the Rosh Hashana one, because worst comes to worst, it's the regular Thursday one. And today is Thursday, so there's no harm done. You could say it. But if it were any other day of the week, they would not say anything at all. That's going to be halacha. That's what we're going to end up saying. This proof is a little bit difficult. Again, not as strong. Like the similar one before, it's not as strong of a proof, but we end up concluding as follows. The conclusion of the Gemara is the Leviim did not sing anything. They're not singing anything. But over here it sounds like they're going to repeat it. Yeah, if it falls on Thursday, they'll repeat it because there's like no difference. The weekday and the Rosh Hashana is the same song, so they're going to sing it anyway. But if not for that, the Leviim would not sing. If the Leviim are not sure, they would not sing. Okay? Correct. They messed up by not singing. But once the witnesses came, then they should have sang and they didn't. Right? But once they said, so we're not going to accept witnesses anymore, then you're defining that today is not Rosh Hashana.
That he's not answering how they blundered when they did the Korban Mitzvah before the witnesses came.
He is. Because this was after they only established not to accept the witnesses after this event happened. Meaning what happened that year was at 5 o'clock, they brought the Korban, they didn't sing the song. 5:15, witnesses came. And now they say we messed up. How did we mess up? Because we brought the Korban without singing anything. Why didn't you sing anything? Because we didn't know what to do. Sing weekday, it might be Rosh Hashana. Sing Rosh Hashana, it might be weekday. They didn't do anything. And they didn't do anything. And then afterwards, when witnesses came, they realized that retroactively it was a mistake. But so then once they said, you know what, we're not going to let witnesses come anymore, so now they won't be a mistake anymore. We know that today is going to be a weekday, essentially. Okay. You know what? Let's do a little bit more because the next flow is easy. It's going to be a machloket, but let's do the first half of the machloket. Tanya, we learned in a braita. Josh, this was your question. How do we know what songs to sing? It's a braita. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mishum Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva tells us as follows. Barishon, on Sunday, Mahayu Omrim. What's the song we sing on Sundays? Ladonai haaretz u'moa teve ve'yoshveva kihu al yamim yisada ve'anorot yichoneneha. It's the Parnasa, of course. Of course, it's the Parnasa one. Most people know that. This is here. Let me pull up a sidur. You just bring this over here. Very good.
Pay a lot of money for that one.
Yeah, but on Sunday morning it's free. Hashem, you just have to wake up. So this is the Shir Shal Yom of Sunday. This is the David Mizmor Hashem. This is chapter 24. This is what he says. Why? Because this line of Ladonai haaretz u'moa, the way it starts is that the land and everything in it belongs to God. Okay, so what? Hashem shekana v'hikna v'shalit be'olamo. That's what happened on the first day of creation, was the beginning of the land and everything becoming His. So on the first day of creation, the first day of the week, which is the first day of creation, that's the day in which God created and He gave the world, and He became the ruler of the world. So that's we read the chapter of Hashem as the ruler of the world. What do we say on the second day of the week? If you look at the Sidur, I'll scroll down. This is Shir Mizmor Lebnei Korach. This is chapter 48. Why do we say this? Because because God separated the waters on this day, separated the handiworks, His handiwork, separated the heavenly waters and the lower waters. And you can see over here, some of the sages explain that by doing that, Hashem also separated some designated Yerushalayim, which is where He has His kingship. I don't know exactly. There's different commentators on how this fits in with that, but essentially, this chapter of Tehillim has to do with Hashem becoming the king over multiple things, and the waters were separated, so there's multiple things, and so that's why we read this chapter of Tehillim on that day. Okay, maybe for next time I'll see if I could find some other opinions. What would they say on the third day of the week? On Shlishi, here's what they would say: Elohim nitzav ba'adat el. This is what we read on Tuesday. Hashem shegila haaretz bechokmato. Because on this line, this perek of Tehillim, ve'echin tevel la'adato. Hashem separated the waters so that we're able to stand on the land, and then He made room for His people. This perek of Tehillim says, Elohim nitzav ba'adat el. God is standing amongst His people. So God is standing amongst His people. We say that on the day on which God separates the land in order for us to be able to stand, for the people to be able to stand. But Revi'i Hayomrim, what do they say on Wednesday? El Nekamot Adonai, El Nekamot Ofia. This is the shir that we say on Wednesday. Why? Hashem Shebarach Hamahu Vana. Because on Wednesday, God created the sun and the moon. What does that have to do with El Nekamot? El Nekamot means a God of revenge. What does revenge have to do with the sun and the moon? Ve'atid Lipara Me'ovdehen. And Hashem will take revenge and punish people who serve the sun and the moon. Avodah Zarah. It used to be very common. The form of idol worship, the main forms of going against God would be to serve the stars, the moon, the sun. That was all created on the fourth day. So the fourth day we read God of vengeance because the fourth day is what needs to bring a lot of punishment to the world because everyone who's serving Avodah Zarah fell into the trap of serving the sun and the moon, which was created on Wednesday. On Thursday, what do we say? That's the chapter we spoke about, chapter 81. Hashem shebara ofot udagim l'shabech mishmo. Because this chapter of Tehillim has to do with praising God. Harninu Elohim uzenu. Let's sing our God's strength. Let's sing songs of God's strength. And who else? Hashem shebara ofot udagim l'shabech mishmo. God created the birds and the fish to praise Him. So the question is, who's praising Him? Machloket, commentators. Some say that human beings are praising God from seeing all of the different types of fish, from seeing all the different types of birds, and you say, wow, look amazing what Hashem does. So this is a way that we praise Hashem. Others say, no, the animals are praising Hashem. There's like this whole thing called Perek Shirah. It's like every animal has its own way of praising Hashem. So Hashem created all these birds and the fish and everything to praise Hashem. I will say, which one do I like more? I like the one that says that the humans are going to praise Hashem from seeing all of these different things. And based on this, there's I heard it in the recording and I forgot who was quoting. Someone saying that it's a mitzvah to take your kids, take your family to the zoo. Why? You go and you see the different types of parrots. You see a red parrot, and you see a blue parrot, you see a white one, you see a flamingo, you see all these different types of things. And it turns into a praise. You have something of looking at the creatures of the world, and you could come to praise Hashem from it. That's what this Gemara is saying. Why do we say the song of praising on Thursday? Because on Thursday was a day when God created all the different birds and fish. And that's a day when that brings all of the praise of Hashem. You see the different types of fish, what they're able to do. Someone showed me a picture of a fish that it could camouflage. It's unbelievable. The fish is swimming, it's comes to an area where there's green, all of a sudden it turns green. Then it's swimming, all of a sudden it becomes brown. How is that even possible? How does it know? How does it do that? Amazing. You see this, you come to praise Hashem from it. So we say that on Thursday. Okay? Bashishi Hayomrim, what do we say on Friday? Adonai Malach Yehud Lavesh. That's the chapter that we say on Friday. We know it. Hashem Shigamar Melachto Malach Alehem. Because now that God created man and finished His creation, now He's Malach. Now He's the king. He is now reigning over the people. Bashivi Hayomrim, what do we say on Shavi'i? Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat. It's the song that we sing for Shabbat. That's the song of Shabbat. Leyom Shekulo Shabbat. Why? Because in the future, there will be a day that will be entirely Shabbat in Olam Haba. Okay? So, what is Shabbat referring to here? Olam Haba, the future. Okay? This is all the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. right? Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mishum Rabbi Akiva, or Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Nechemia is going to argue, and he's going to give an argument, and everything that he's going to say at the beginning is going to be exactly the same. The argument is going to be in the last line, so it's just making sure you pay attention to everything. It's like, oh, you're not arguing; you're saying the same exact thing. I'm like, I'm going crazy. I'm just reading the same thing twice. So he just throws it in the last line. So let's see it. Amar Rabbi Nechemia. Rabbi Nechemia tells us, why did our sages pick these chapters of Tehillim to say on these days? Ela barishon, on Sunday, shekana vehikna v'shalit be'olamo. Because he created the world and he gave it over to he gave it over, and now he's the ruler of the world. So that's why we say Hashem Lashem Haaretz U'Noah. Basheni, on the second day, shechilek ma'asav u'malach alehem, because he separated the waters and he became king over them. Same thing. Bashlishi, why on Tuesday that song shekila eretz bechokhmato ve'echin tevel la'adato, because he uncovered the ground and he gave the ability for people to walk on the land, and that's why we read that Tehillim. Same thing. But Revi'i, on Wednesday, why do we read the one that says God of vengeance? Because he created the sun and the moon, and he's going to punish people who serve them. Same thing. Why on Thursday do we want to sing the one of praising Hashem? Because he created the birds and the fish that we now praise Hashem for them. Same thing. Vashishi, on the sixth day, because he finished his work, so Adonai Malach Yehud Avesh, he's now the king over the people as well. All the same. Vashivi'i, Friday, Al Shem Shabbat, because he rested. Okay, so his difference is like, no, it's not, we're not saying he's worshiping Shabbat on Shabbat because in the future Olam Haba is going to be a day of rest, but we're saying it because God rested on the seventh day of creation. Right? It's almost like you're talking about the first 6 days are all about creation. The 7th day should also be about creation. Hashem rested from creation. But Rabbi Akiva says, no, we do that because we're actually thinking about one day there's going to be a world that we're in that's complete rest like Shabbat. Okay, so what are they arguing about? They're arguing about something that I'm going to warn you that I don't fully understand yet. So give me until next week. We're going to read it now. And then next week, I'll try to give you some elaboration. Something tells me that even with a week of it, I won't understand what it is. But whatever. At least I could push off the questions for now. These two opinions, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Nechemia, who are arguing about the Shabbat, are we reading Mizmor Shel Yom Shabbat because we want to talk about how one day there will be a full day of rest, that's Olam Haba, or because God rested in the past during creation? What are they arguing about? They're arguing about whether you hold like Rav Katina or not. The Amar Rav Katina, because Rav Katina tells us, Shita alfei sheneh heve alma v'chad charu. The world will exist for 6,000 years, and then for 1,000 it will be destroyed. And for 1,000 years it will be destroyed. Shneimar v'niskav Adonai levado bayom hahu. Hashem is going to be alone on that day. There will be a day where God is going to be all alone. Amar Abaye says, no, 2,000 years is going to be destroyed. Shneimar yechayenu miyomayim. He quotes a pasuk that says 2 days worth. The world is going to be destroyed for 2 days. I hope you can understand why I don't understand. No idea what this is talking about.
Each day is 1,000 years.
Each day is 1,000 years. So the world is going to exist for 6,000 years, and then in the seventh, for that next 1,000 years, it will cease to exist. This is where many say that Mashiach is going to come after the year 6,000. What year are we in now? 5783. Right, we're near 5783. There, when we get to the year 200, how many? 217 years. You know what's very, very interesting? There's a pocket of history during the times of the Beit HaMikdash. There's a big dispute between historians and Chazal. It's probably about 150 years of history that we're missing. If you go according to that, then we're not actually in the year 5783, but we're, how many you said, 217? So minus 150, probably have another 67 years. How old am I? Can I see 67 years from my eye? I think we can make it. So if there is some sort of 150-year gap in history that we got our count wrong, that really we're in the wrong year today, then Mashiach will come by.
Rabbi.
I'm right in the middle of something that's very dicey, so I don't know if right. Okay, yes, go ahead.
I was gonna just add to this that this years to compare to ours, is we don't celebrate Shabbat for 24 hours. We celebrate for 25 hours. So that's another 40 years. And on summertime, normally we celebrate 26 hours. We start 7, it finishes at 9 something. So that's also another 40 years.
Okay, so
We're getting-
Be'ezrat Hashem. You know what? Okay, so there's two things that I want to say here. And I want to, okay, there's two things that I want to say. Number one, to speak about the song. Josh, you asked the question of what songs do we sing. So we just gave you a bunch of songs that we sing from Tehillim, right? There's one issue with that. What's the issue with the Braita telling us that we sing songs from Tehillim when we do the service in the Beit HaMikdash? What's the issue with that? So the Beit HaMikdash wasn't before David, but the Mishkan was. And we were bringing korbanot for 1,000 years before David HaMelech, right? Now with the Beit HaMikdash, which was built in times of Shlomo HaMelech, but the korbanot with the Leviim singing were brought every single day from the times of Moshe Rabbeinu. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu say? Moshe Rabbeinu was a Levi. He comes and say, open Perek Tehillim. No, of course, Moshe Rabbeinu had a Tehillim in his pocket, right? No. So the Minchal Chinuch explains as follows. He says, for sure, they weren't saying the Tehillim before David HaMelech, because there was no Tehillim. They were singing some song that they felt was appropriate, that was fine. From the Torah, the Leviim just have to sing praise relevant to the day somehow during that time. Once, hold on. One second. But once David HaMelech came and Anshe Knesset HaGedolah established that this will be part of the Tefillah, so that's how it became. And you have the same thing with the Shemona Esrei. The Shemona Esrei that we have was established by the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. What were they praying beforehand? Were they not praying? They were, but in different words, different ways. The brachot that we have established, they didn't have. So that's the first thing that I want to point out. That these songs, just the timeline, beforehand they were singing something. It doesn't have to be the same thing. But once David HaMelech came, Anshe Knesset HaGedolah established it, this is what we follow. Second thing I want to mention is about Mashiach. Okay, like I said, I'd like to do some more research. Hopefully next week we'll talk about this. Because what does this mean? It'll be destroyed for 1,000 years, 2,000 years. Okay, stay tuned for next week. But one thing that during the times of COVID, many of you might have seen this. Everyone was saying Mashiach's coming, the world is coming to the end, Mashiach's coming, people are dying, Mashiach has to come, Mashiach's going to come to cure us. Rabbi Ben Chaim had a YouTube video that he spoke during this time that became like a legend. People from throughout the world have seen it, have referenced it. There's other people, and it was like off the cuff, where he basically says, I want to talk about people saying Mashiach is here. Mashiach is coming because of this. And he just goes off, and hopefully I'll find this, I'll send the link to the chat later, send the link afterwards. He basically goes through history of time after time where someone said Mashiach has to come by this time, and then Mashiach didn't come. And Rabbi Akiva thought Mashiach was a Bar Koziba, and it wasn't him. And someone else thought this was the time of Mashiach, and it didn't happen. And then during the pogroms in Russia, they were saying during this time it's going to be Mashiach, nothing happened. And what Rabbi Ben Chaim's point is, and he quotes different things, is that trying to find a date of when Mashiach coming is a complete waste of your time. We have a mitzvah every single day, mitzipinu l'yeshua, b'chol yom she'yavo. You want Mashiach to come each and every day. We want Melech Mashiach to come to get us back to our kingdom. We could build the Beit HaMikdash. We could have the Korbanot. We could have the Sanhedrin. We want that tomorrow. You don't want that in 217 years from now. You want that tomorrow. And telling yourself that it's going to come when this happens, it's a fool's game that Rabbi Ben Chaim in this thing very beautifully says. It just keeps happening over and over and over. It happened last year. What happened last year? People found a book. There was a war with Ukraine and Russia. People found a book that says when Russia goes through this straits of this ocean, then Mashiach's going to come. Russia came from land. Russia didn't go through water. But the whole world started seeing this. Whenever this thing falls on the 8th day of this month, Mashiach's going to come. Okay, this happened 3 years ago. These type of things that people find and they come up with any reason, it's not worth your effort. When is Mashiach coming? Rabbi Ben Chaim says, when do I want Mashiach to come? Tomorrow. When do I believe he's going to come? Tomorrow. How does that change anything in my life? Absolutely nothing. I'm going to continue doing the mitzvot every single day. The world, as the Rambam tells us, we want Mashiach to come, Be'ezrat Hashem, but we want him to come every single day. this game of when Mashiach is going to come after 6,000 years, this year, it's like I said, it's a very dicey topic. Be'ezrat Hashem, he comes tomorrow. So, if we take 150 years, you add it to it. And then as Mr. Korbani said, we start Shabbat 18 minutes early. Some people start even earlier. You take that, maybe Hashem will start things early. Mashiach's going to come even earlier. Okay, Be'ezrat Hashem, we want him to come tonight. Rosh Chodesh Adar is the best at Mashiach if you're listening. The Misha Nichnas Adar, it's a good time for happiness. Come tonight. This is what we want. We want from the beginning. Be'ezrat Hashem, for next week, I'll go over this again. Hopefully, elaborate it a little bit. But I'm gonna say, we're not gonna now determine when Mashiach is coming. So Rama, don't ask me next week when Mashiach is coming. Because you could ask me, I could tell you, Be'ezrat Hashem, by next week he already came. But if you ask me, I'll tell you he's coming Wednesday. He'll come the next morning. He's gonna come. So this is Gemara. We'll do hopefully Be'ezrat Hashem in good health next week. Okay? Zak Baruch. Zak Baruch. Zak Baruch. You found it?